Alright guys, I want to do kind of a special video today, at least for me. I don't have a lot of high dollar knives. I've owned a few, like a titanium bodega, got a Will Moon, Mark 6. I've had a Hinder, Chris Reeve, a couple other decent knives, whatever. Anyway, I got a couple knives in the mail the other day. They are Direware Solo V5s. Eric over at Direware doesn't name them V5s or whatever. It's the consumers, us, that do it. The big difference in this one is the thinner blade handles. I never owned a V4 or prior to that any other model of Hinder. I unfortunately had to sell one of them because I had some unforeseen circumstances with my car. My bare garage here with no car in it because it broke, but you know, stuff happens. Luckily, I still got this one. I wanted to have a safe queen and a user, but I got a user, so that's fine. I'll carry it. I have been carrying it, and it's an amazing knife. I'll talk a little bit about the specs. Alright, so first, behind the edge, this thing, you know, for a sharpened pry bar is what they call a lot of the heavy use knives. Those of you that have seen any of my videos, I like knives that cut really well. This one at the thinnest point here is .009 behind the edge, and toward the thickest part of the blade it is .014. Try to get a close-up, see if we can see it, but it gets got fingerprints all over it. You can see the beautiful grind lines and the shape of the knife. This is obviously the Wharncliffe. He just recently started offering the Wharncliffe as well as his non-recurve multi-grind, and hopefully you guys can see it, but it starts out very thin and gets slightly thicker as it gets to the tip. I think it's pretty awesome, especially because the majority of your cutting is going to be in the center of the blade, where it's about .011, .012 thick, which is insane. Oh yeah, and this isn't your normal M390, which, you know, I can't put down M390. M390's amazing steel, extremely stainless, great edge retention, not far off from S90V in that regard. And if you take a look at some of my other videos, you can see the edge retention on M390, and it's amazing. But this one, let's see if we can get it here, is in, probably hard to see with the ceramic coating on there, but maybe you'll just have to take my word for it. It's in S110V, which I also have a cutting video showing S110V, which was in a custom knife also. It was a fixed blade by Ozark Tradition Knives, and it's, if not the best, it may have only come second to the K390 that I tested, but S110V is incredible. It's got 9% vanadium, tons of chromium, so it's plenty stainless, 14% chromium, etc., etc. It holds its edge for forever. Alright, so it's thin behind the edge, great blade steel. It's a cutter. So you get this giant knife that actually cuts really well. Pretty amazing, pretty amazing. It's going to be tough enough for my uses. I'm not going to go cut down a tree with my 3.5-inch blade. No thanks. I'll just, you know, use as I need to. If I need to open a can of tuna, fine, I will. I'm not afraid. Okay, so we got a 2.9-inch cutting edge, which actually isn't very much considering you got about a 3.3-inch from blade tip to the end of the handle here. So you only get 2.9 inches of cutting edge compared to most knives with that length of blade. You're going to get, you know, 3.3 or something like that. So a little bit less cutting edge, but you do get the use of the choil. So for those of you that like choils, this thing's perfect. and it's a giant choil. It's got plenty of room for my hand, which is relatively large hand, I would say, medium to large, and it's got more than enough room. I can get right in there, and I don't have to be afraid of getting cut either by the edge right here, because there's about, I would say, a 1/16 of an inch of non-sharpened edge right here just by the choil. I mean, it's beautifully designed. It's a lot of thought went into this knife. A lot of thought goes into all of Eric's knives, I'm pretty sure. His knives are amazing. Okay, so the handle length, and this is, some people complain about Direware's knives because his handles are quite a bit bigger than the blade. You don't get a terrific blade to handle ratio. As you can see here, the blade, if you can, here, the blade basically ends right about here. So you're getting, almost a full, I would say, 3/4 of an inch where there's no blade. It's going to be a giant 440C, hardened 440C backspacer. Okay? Which I think it's pretty cool. It looks cool. It's got kind of a gear pattern. And worst case scenario, I'm going to take my $700 Direware and I'm going to break out of a car. Is that ever going to happen? Probably not. But it's cool to think that you could. Alright, so they still keep the giant thick clip, even though, which I'll say is an awesome clip. It comes in and out of the pocket much easier than you would think it does. The retention's terrific, and the handles are quite a bit thinner. Eric lists on his website 25% thinner than the previous versions. So it's going to carry a little bit lighter in your pocket too. And to tell you the truth, this knife carries very well in the pocket. You might not think so. You got probably, I don't know, it's full titanium. I went full titanium with this one, so I don't know, maybe it's 8 ounces or something like that, 7 ounces, whatever it is. But it carries well. Does it carry as well as a Chris Reeve? No, of course not. It's a giant. It's a big knife. I'm not going to put a cell phone, a wallet, and my 7.5 ounce knife, or whatever it is, in the same pocket. I probably wouldn't do that with a Chris Reeve either. But, yeah. Okay, the flipper tab. Okay, on the other Solo V5 that I had came with the hawkbill blade, which used to be called the Wharncliffe, but it's actually a hawkbill, and it had more of a slanted flipper, which was terrific. It was an awesome flipper, but you could really only light switch it, so it was a little bit more, I guess, not user-friendly as far as if you're a push-button guy. This one, push buttons like a rocket. The Detent is amazing. There's the Smoothness, there's the Detent. Alright, so maybe, here we go. Let's take a look at that Detent. Alright. It's awesome. It's got an amazing Detent. You can also light switch this knife, and it flies out just as good. It just depends on what you like. And this flipper tab doesn't hurt your fingers. It's not sharp anywhere. It's got nicely rounded right here at the top, and it's pretty much perfect. You would think, it's pretty smooth right there. Maybe need some jimping. You could, you could probably use jimping there. Sorry, my next door neighbor's got a loud car. Probably not as loud as mine, but that's all right. You could use some jimping there, I guess. I don't know. Maybe if your hands were really wet or it's really cold out, maybe you could use some jimping. I don't find it a problem at all. Alright, so we talked about the Detent. Let's talk about the smoothness of the knife. So, I talked earlier about, owning a Chris Reeve and, Bodega, things of that nature. Eric says that he's using a different bearing system on these knives. Obviously, I got the ceramic coating on this one. I don't know if that helps, but the smoothness of this knife is insane. It's just ridiculously smooth. It is right there with the Bodega, and that's saying something. It's smoother than a Chris Reeve. Oh my God, did you just say that? I did. I just said it. But it is. Whoa. If it's not the smoothest knife that I've ever felt, then I don't know, but it's insane. And yeah, the weight of the blade helps it fall, but I don't think it would matter. It's just that smooth. It's like glass. Incredible. The sharpness of the knife. Alright, let me grab a piece of phone book paper here. Alright, so you can barely even hear it cut the phone book paper. It's insanely sharp. It just carves that phone book paper up. I didn't sharpen it. It came to me like that. And I've actually cut with it already. So I've already cut some cardboard. I've already cut, you know, some paper. It got some glue on the blade, stuff like that. Obviously, I cleaned it afterward. But it's just, you can push cut. We're talking about a big, thick knife. A big, thick knife. I think he puts it at 0.187 as far as the thickness of the blade. But with that thin, extremely deep hollow grind, it just cuts. It's nothing. Look at that. It's just flying through phone book paper like it's nothing. Alright? By far the sharpest knife I've ever received from a manufacturer, a custom knife maker, anything. I had a Wicked Edge for a long time. I ended up selling it because I needed some funds, but I wouldn't throw this on there. It'd be pointless. And I mean, of course, it's S110V, so it's going to hold that edge for a long time. And when I do need to sharpen it, I'll use my sharp maker, I guess. But yeah, it's insane. I've never gotten a knife this sharp from someone before. It's pretty awesome. Alright, we'll talk about the ceramic coating here a little bit. So, Eric offers ceramic coating on the blade. You can get it on the handles as well. It's like an extra $50 or whatever. I saw it on one of his knives previously, and I thought it looked amazing, so I just went with it. I did it just for looks, not for any functionality or anything. I just think it looks cool. Also went with the bronze anodized pocket clip and handles. I think he does an amazing bronze. Probably one of the prettiest blondes, yeah. Okay. Prettiest bronze I've seen, and I really like it. Alright, let's see what else we got here. Lockup, I mean, I really need to talk about lockup on a Direware. I guess I could. There's no blade play whatsoever. It's bank vault tight. It's insane. The tolerances are amazing. The centering is perfect. If you can get that. Centering's perfect. Just, I mean, it's what you would expect perfect centering on a $700 knife. You really should. And aftermarket prices are probably going to be, you know, whatever. We shouldn't even talk about it. It's insanely expensive. But you wait a long time. I waited 17 months for this knife, right? So, yeah, it takes forever. Is it worth it? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I know why people pay the secondary prices, because they don't want to wait that long, because these knives are incredible. And people, you know, some people on the forums and stuff, they kind of get down on Direware for whatever reasons, you know, handle to blade ratio, whatever, stuff like that. But I'll tell you right now, I've owned a lot of sweet knives, and this is by far the best one I've owned. Not just because it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's a Direware. Duh, it's cool. But it's fucking awesome. It's smooth. It cuts. It comes with premium materials. Comes with some of the best blade steel available. You don't see too many knife makers using S110V, period. They just don't like using it. It's a pain in the ass. But Eric does it, and he puts it in a hell of a knife. I thank him personally. It's unbelievable. This came with all the things I would want in a knife that I made myself. Came with all that. Smooth action, perfect detent, awesome lockup, all titanium, great blade steel, great flipper. Is there anything not to like about this knife? Not for me, not for my uses. Overall, as I said, this is the best knife I've ever owned. And you don't see many videos on Direware. I looked at YouTube forever, and there's only a few videos on there. So I wanted to throw this up. Who knows if I even will. This video probably sucks, but whatever. You know, I don't make a lot of videos. I just thought that this knife was pretty special. Yeah. Alright guys, I don't have anything else. Maybe just another look at the knife. And just for a quick comparison's sake, I'll bring out my ZT-0392. I love this knife, by the way. This knife is by far the best ZT I've ever owned. I love it. It's probably my second favorite knife right now to the Direware. Just to show you how thin the edge is on the Direware, this ZT was .027 behind the edge. Well more than double behind the edge of the Direware. So you're talking about a big beefy knife with a very thin edge. Excellent for cutting. Oh yeah, and just to say how much I like M390, this is 204p, which is basically M390. So I was not putting down M390. Alright guys, thanks for watching.